How's everybody doing? We are live once again. It is me and this probably the smartest young man I know. Introduce yourself, Marcellus.
What's up, guys? Marcellus Williams, aka the Professor. Fourth, fifth time being on the
fourth or fifth time or something like that.
Yeah. Not much to say, man. You guys, you want to know about me? Follow me on Instagram. Check me out on YouTube.
I highly suggest you do too. If you are looking for a strength coach, an online strength coach, especially, I believe that's some of the stuff you do.
Correct.
The reason why I truly love your content when it comes to that stuff is because it does have a very serious lean towards longevity and sustainability, which is awesome. For those of you that don't know, he is going to be on our cruise, the damn cruise with us, and he is going to give a seminar on the proper movement patterns to do moves safely in order to look out for longevity. I think it's super important, the work you do. But also, I've had you on as kind of like the person that knows how to read a study through this whole ridiculous COVID pandemic bullshit stuff, and not that before we get going, I'm not calling COVID bullshit. I'm calling the shit we reacted to bullshit. It's obviously a very real virus, you stupid fucks. And by the way, just in case most of you are wondering, I'm not really, I already know YouTube's not gonna like this video, so I have zero fucks to give about this video. So they've already they already flagged it once from the fucking from the title, because the title does say, just in case, we fucking told you so because we fucking told you so many fucking times. It's crazy. So what a cruise. I thought everyone was still in self-improvement. Fuck that shit. There is no, let me tell you something. I can say, if you are a young, healthy person, there is less reason to be locked up right now than during flu season. Just a fucking real. I understand that we want to keep everybody healthy. I believe that you and I both agreed that we should have very much so tried to protect the sick and the elderly. And that's kind of coming through fruition. What have you seen? It's been about a month and a half since we've talked. Yeah. What changes have you seen? Because and just so everybody knows, it's not like we talk a lot. I consider him one of my friends, so we do talk all the time. But I just wanted to bring people up to speed with what we've been talking about, because very clearly, I don't know about you. I don't think you took it as much, but just so everybody is very clear, dumbass motherfuckers were actually sending us death threats by sharing fucking actual data from the CDC in New York City. So if it rubs people wrong, that when I say that I told you so or we told you so, I don't fucking care. I really don't, because we were right. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's it's interesting because I could say I think probably do the way that I articulate my points and kind of try to talk about things. The threats I've gotten whenever I talk about things are very rare. But I have, funnily enough, had I've had a couple people be like, man, they should be taking all these precautions. You're right, so that way the virus can get you, it can kill you and stuff like that, which I find hilarious, just because it's it's what's that gonna do to me? At this point, honestly. But what I think there's been a lot of interesting updates. So the first thing that I think is probably one of the biggest things that, of course, a lot of people may not be aware of is the Imperial College, which what kind of started all of this, right? With the models and the predictions of, are you gonna have 1 to 2 million people die if you don't shut down, if you don't handle this, that, and the third, have come out with a full peer-reviewed study, basically weighing out the cost of shutting down, as far as what's there to gain from it versus what's there to lose. And they have come out and said themselves that it's not worth it. That the devastation, the damage caused, not only economic for future generations, but just the damage caused right now to people, economically, to people's health, in terms of the health issues that come with people staying inside all day, as far as the issues that happen to people that have non-COVID related issues that cannot get addressed. And even certain things people that usually, if they get screened, if they catch certain cancer early enough, we can handle this, that are now going to have to live and possibly die from that because they weren't able to get looked at the way they needed to, things like that. So at this point, you've got the Imperial College, the ones who kind of start all this, being like, hey, we've weighed the risk versus reward. It's not worth it. We can now see even more things as far as numbers, as far as how Sweden handled it compared to other nations, to see the difference, in terms of how those numbers are looking, how at this point Sweden's numbers, despite still testing, right? It's not just a matter of deaths and hospitalizations going down, which really those should be the two big things we're concerned about, more so than cases in and of themselves. And let me be clear just why I say that. The reason I have to say this because anyone who lives in the U.S. who watches mainstream media, even though I don't think you should, but anyone who does will notice they have very much detoured from talking about the cases. I mean, my bad, the deaths and the hospitalizations to just cases. And there's a reason for that because nationwide as a whole, the deaths and hospitalizations just is not something that they can keep pushing the way that they were before, right? When it was just going up. But now that that's kind of subsiding, they're focused more on cases. Well, the reason why getting so caught up in that in of itself doesn't make any sense because it's very simple. Cases in of themselves don't mean much. If I have a room of 1,000 people, right? 1,000 people who are young, healthy, no underlying issues, and they all test positive for the virus, right? But but they have no symptoms, or there's a few who do have symptoms, but they recover quickly with some bed rest and they're good. And I get no death hospitalizations from those 1,000 cases. Those 1,000 cases in themselves don't mean anything. If I have a room of say just 100 people though, and they're all old or they're sick, let's say we're in a nursing home, and then the virus exposed there, that's far more detrimental. You have less cases, but you're going to get way more death hospitalizations from that. So that's one thing to take note of, that even the way their rhetoric has gone about it has changed heavily. And I think the biggest thing that we can see now that we've had time, now we have a month, and what's funny is this isn't like some, like people can't say, oh, in hindsight, because there's been several epidemiological experts that I know you've shared, that I've shared, that have that have talked about this and explained that this is going to be the case. But basically at this point, we can look at all these different nations that took different actions where they shut down, didn't shut down, took some precautions, a lot of precautions, did a sort of a shutdown or a full hardcore shut down early as soon as they heard about what was going on, or waited a little bit the kind of way that we did to kind of fill things out. And what we're finding is no matter how early one shut down or didn't shut down, that there's seemingly no, especially there's so much there's seemingly no real effects on to what degree that's going to save lives or not. And the reason being is because at the end of the day, the type of how many cases you're going to get, and then of course how many deaths and hospitalizations you're going to get really come down to a couple of key factors. The biggest and most important one is demographic. It's simple. The more unhealthy people you have, the more cases you're going to get, the more deaths you're going to get, the more hospitalizations you're going to get. That's the most important thing. The second thing is just going to be your overall hospital infrastructure, how that is set up, right? Like how full are your hospitals in general? How many available beds do you usually have in general, based upon a hospital structure, stuff like that. And then the third thing is going to be just kind of the structure setup of the nation itself, in the sense of, okay, there's going to be a big difference between New Zealand or an island nation, right? That's kind of closed off from everything, and how they get affected by people coming in and traveling and stuff like that, versus, a place like the US where there's a lot of travel in and out all the time, stuff like that, right? And it's one of these things where it's understanding okay, for example, if we use Japan, for example, whether Japan shut down, didn't shut down, whether they were masked, didn't wear masks, Japan was not going to get hit as hard by this as say Italy or the US, for the mere fact their population is far healthier. And with this, there should really be no debate on anything, because no matter what study you look at, no matter from who or what side you look at, we know that predominantly this kills unhealthy people. There's no political agenda, there's no debate as far as that. That's just, we know that's the facts. Anybody who doesn't understand that at this point, I don't know where you've been. I don't know what you've been looking at data wise.
Watch out now. People are gonna say you're supporting Trump.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. It's like. And I think that's something that's ridiculous. It's just completely ridiculous as far as how we've already talked in the past years about how politicized this has gotten. But what my hope was as more of this stuff was coming out, as more of this as more of this information was coming out, that people would get less polarized about it and be more upset. And some have been, but a lot, I feel like I just doubled down for no reason. And it's and let me be clear. I have to be very clear when I say this. Because people are saying when I talk about this, people are saying saying lockdowns don't work, shutdowns don't work. Let me be very, very clear. It is very, very possible for a lockdown to work in very, very, very specific situations. But here's the big issue with all of it. So first of all, people love to say, oh, well, it would have worked, but we didn't lock down early enough, or would have, should have, could have. We have to look at what we actually did when we did it and go based upon that if it was worth it or not. We can talk about what we could have done in hindsight all day. In hindsight, if we could have found the first few people who had it in China and isolated them from the beginning, we wouldn't be worried about this. But that's not what happened, right? It's not really. If it was a case of okay, there's only 5 people, let's say 5 people in your whole nation who have got it, and you immediately find those people, and this isn't even social shutdown, but you just isolate those people, right?
Yep.
Or you shut everything down to where nobody can interact with those people, right? Until they are fully healed, recovered, develop antibodies, whatever it may be. Cool. Then that will work. But the reason why that's not the case is because we didn't start taking action on this till like late February, early March. Right. And the best part is everyone's like, well, we would have done it in January. Well, the goalpost keeps moving because they keep saying every time that, oh, actually the first traces of this were in early January. Oh, they were in December. Oh, now we're seeing that it may have been as early as late November. So it's like it gets to this point where by the time, because of the nature of this virus, because of how fast it spreads, by the time we took any action, it was too far spread out to where things like an indiscriminate shutdown or like, like contact tracing, things like that, which is funny to this point. The WHO and CDC has now talked about how contact tracing for asymptomatic individuals doesn't make any sense, right? Since people love to quote the CDC and WHO, and we get to keep going back and forth, but it's like by the time we started doing that, we were going to get way more harm for those actions than good. And like I've told people all the time about like, okay, but I thought the whole purpose of this was literally just to, prevent the hospital from being overrun. And that's fine. Like I said, I tell people all the time, when the lockdown first happened, and that was regardless of me kind of being skeptical, because before I started diving deep into the research and looking at anything about this, I was fine with it because I was like, okay, we don't know. It's 2 weeks, maybe a month at most. Better safe than sorry, right? But at this point, you still have some places that are not fully open or trying to re-lock down. And it's funny too, because even some of these nations where they praise these nations, where they're talking about like Korea, stuff like that, where they're like, oh look, they shut down fast enough, early enough, and they handled it, they got rid of it. First of all, it's not how this works. If it's already there and it spreads, right? Even if you shut down fast and hard, if it's already spread enough, it's not how that works. At best, you're kind of slowing it down. It's like we explained before, when you flatten the curve, you also widen it, right? And that's fine if your purpose is hospitalization. But these people who would praise them as like, oh, they got rid of it. But guess what? As soon as they started opening up again, what happened? More cases, stuff like that, right? And what's funny is people will use the logic of, okay, well, yeah, but look, by the time that happened, by the time they did open up, even though some cases came back, they were still a lot less than what it was before. But you can say the same thing for nations that didn't shut down. If you look at Sweden, which didn't shut down, they have a lot less cases now than what they did. Everyone collectively, that's the thing. Like if we look at overall cases in terms of the total cases you've had from the start of us counting to now, then that's like depending on the population demographic. But we're talking about how many cases you're getting now on a daily compared to what we were getting before, right? Right. It's like, of course, if you shut down and not allowed to spread, and once you open it back up, people interacting, of course it's going to start going up again. You basically artificially create a second wave, essentially. But that's what it is. It's artificial, because if you look at nations that didn't do that, they're not getting these random spikes coming back up because they allowed it to kind of go through and do its thing, right? So if we're talking about taking actions, that something as simple as like, okay, don't let people into nursing homes, right? Or make sure the workers get tested. Something like that, where, okay, we're going to try to actually protect the elderly. Or if we're telling, hey, if you are a high-risk individual, we want you to stay home. And mind you, I say we want you to, because even then, I don't think you should be able to force people to do that. At least not in the U.S. Different nations, different cultures, different rules. But it's very simple. Like I'll use a couple of older individuals that train in my gym, for example. A couple of them were having a conversation. This is just very, to me, this was really cool, the dynamic of it, because it was like a white dude was probably like in his late 60s, black dude who I know for a fact is like 72, and then a Hispanic dude who I think he's somewhere, I've had to guess somewhere between their ages, right? And they're just sitting talking about it. It was very, very refreshing to hear them kind of talk about some of the research and the data that you and I have even talked about and discussed, which I think is hilarious that the people who were more at risk and stuff are taking the time to do that, but all the people around my age group want to spout this, that, virtue signal about this and that.
With your age group? God damn, like a bunch of fucking pussies.
We like being a part of something, man. Like,
God damn,
you give us a cause, a movement, something to fight for, someone to fight against, someone to demonize, something that can make us feel like we've got some type of value or validation. There's a serious problem of the lack of self-validation.
Way too many 15 trophies. Like, what the fuck? Like, way too much. Like, you're awesome shit,
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But what's cool about their conversation was them basically, like, they were talking about the research data. They actually brought the thing about how, like, oh, hey, look, this data now shows that out of all the people that got COVID, 94% of them had some type of underlying issue. And then out of the 6% that didn't, most of them were in the elderly age group, things like that, right? But what was cool was one of those talking about, like, he's like, yeah, like at this point, he's I'm very grateful that I live here in Texas. Because he's like, I'm sorry, he said, I don't care what risk I'm at. He's like, I take a risk. I took a risk when I was in the military. I took a risk, every time I get in my car. He's like, you're not going to tell me that I can't spend time with my grandson. He's like, if I take that risk and then I die, he said, I'd much rather know that I died living my life to the fullest, being with my grandkids, being with my family, than alone somewhere. And that's my thing. It's like, I think it's hilarious how people say, like, and granted, I agree, like, anything you can do to try to help others, preserve the life of others, that's great. But when you get to the point where you're going against what those people themselves want, that's ridiculous to me. Like that's wild to me. Like the amount of research that's come out between what it looks like in the different nations, as well as just the way the goalposts have been moved constantly. Okay, for example, research came out, I think 2-3 months ago that, hey, gyms are not really a big part of the spread at all, and yet you still have these states that they're opening movie theaters, malls, bowling alleys, but they still won't open gyms.
We've done so much.
It's insane to me.
We've done so much to actually negatively affect the health of the country. It's disgusting.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
That's why when people approach me like, well, don't you want to try to save, if you could just wear a mask and distance from people and do whatever just to save one life, wouldn't you? Like, I think we should actually all come together, start spending as much money at local businesses as humanly fucking possible. Because, I understand that people think that there's a huge COVID risk and everything like that, even though if you are under 65 and of okay health, the risk is less than the flu. If you are a healthy person under 65, you are in much more danger by your car than you are of COVID, like fucking much more. And to everybody out there, like, because here's a new excuse to want to be locked down and shit like that. But we don't know if, what the long-term effects are, and what about the lung damage? Like, that's the fucking flu too. Like the flu, like I actually personally know people who have permanent lung damage from having the flu, and they were young and healthy. It happens every fucking year. I'm sorry, you dumb fucks don't research shit and don't realize that the flu is actually a pretty fucking scary thing. Like, I find it hilarious that this virus is less deadly to people under 65 without a vaccine than the flu is with a vaccine. Yeah. And we're terrified of this motherfucker. We should have never, I will say this, I mean it, we should have never closed down. Us trying to protect everybody, like half-ass protect everybody, costs the lives of so many elderly people, if you ask me. Me and you said the very first time, let's get these people protection. I mean, how we have so many people that look back and be like, well, how do you suggest, helping to isolate these elderly and sick people? Well, most elderly people that are above 80, which, by the way, more people above 80 have died than under like 45, total. It's fucking crazy. Or it's even above 100. Like, there's it's the people above 100 that have passed away. It's insane, right? Yeah. But realistically, people, like, we need to actually function as a society. These people are going to be dead if we let society collapse. Me and you said that very big, like, the fucked up shit is why I labeled this like, we told you so. You and I on these talks, and I challenge all of you to go back and look at them, because neither of us have changed our opinion from the fucking start. Not even a fucking little bit. We predicted social unrest in the streets. Like, here's the thing, like, and I'm not saying that the social unrest we're seeing right now, which I'm sure we're probably going to talk about. I'm sure the social unrest we're seeing right now. I'm not saying that protests are not valid. Protesting is a constitutional right that we should do. However, you cannot take people's jobs away, take people's purpose away, take people's lives away, and then show them injustices, which was happening massively even before George Floyd was murdered. And I know people are going to fucking be pissed at me about that. That man was murdered. Like, he was subdued on his stomach, screaming, pleading for help with another man kneeling on his neck. It disgusts me that the officers did not stop him. The man subdued. Like, they could have literally just like fucking got up and like fucking stepped back from him and watched him fucking just keep going and tried to get him help because he said he couldn't fucking breathe. That was a definite big trigger, and it's led to a lot of issues we're having right now that I'm sure you and I will talk about too. But we predicted there was going to be social unrest in the street. You cannot just eliminate a huge portion of the workforce's jobs, give them very little money, scare the fuck out of them. Thank you, mainstream media and YouTube and all you other fucking publishers, platforms. And then expect them to fucking be okay and nobody get upset. We were going to have, I mean, people need to understand, we were about to have riots in the streets about like the fucking draconian measures in a lot of places. I mean, Raleigh, North Carolina actually came out and said, their police came out and said that protesting was not an essential function. Like that was my point from the very beginning. My point from the very beginning was at no point in time should anybody ever give up their rights.
Yeah,
the government should have asked people like, "Hey, everybody, hunker down." My life changed so fucking little in those first couple of weeks because I literally got back from a fucking cruise, and we hunkered down for like fucking 3 weeks. We had our fucking food delivered. We just kind of fucking stayed here. You know what I mean? Like, but you know what it's like doing our business. That's my life anyway. Like, I mean, pretty much. This impacted me so extremely little. Most of my clients are from overseas. I've got very lucky that most of my clients were essential workers. Not that everybody's not essential. And just looking at the data, we did have somebody. Hang on, I wanted to address this because this is actually one of the problems right here. This person says, "Sorry, I just jumped in, but isn't Italy one of the healthiest countries on earth? They have a really high life expectancy." Not even fucking close.
Not even remotely.
We did zero fucking work. They have a huge elderly population. They've got like a 30% smoking rate. And their hospital system, and people didn't research this shit either, their hospital system collapsed in 2018 from the flu. Here's another thing that we've pointed out that people just didn't want to do the research on. And for those of you that are about to scream, stay in your lane. I was a healthcare executive for 15 fucking years, so fuck off, bitches. But we didn't do any fucking research. We knew from China and from Italy, it was old, elderly, sickly people. We knew it. At that time of year, almost all hospitals are filled to 95% or more at that time of year. Anyway, it is a problem with how we view our hospital system, especially in America. It's an issue, but very, very, very fucking clearly, people freaked out like, "Oh my God, the hospitals are out of space." The hospitals were damn near out of fucking space in Italy before the first person got COVID. Their hospital system has been known to collapse in many places. And again, it was just like certain places. But the thing I find, I posted a video on my smaller channel, which this is being broadcast on both channels, just because YouTube has lost me to a great degree.
Oh, the moment they started removing videos of Dr. Ioannidis and experts who were sick for months ago. And what's funny is when they first had their videos, they got to millions of views, and all it was done based upon my expertise and the data we have so far. I think we need to be more careful with how we're moving about this. This is what I think is going to happen if we take these measures. This is what the measures I think we should be taking. They had no issue with that video being up until over time we started realizing how correct they were. Suddenly, it's like, to me, it comes across as, we can't have people knowing that there were experts out here already warning not to take some of these actions. Let's take it down from YouTube. That's what that looks like to me, because nothing else makes sense. Like they're not spitting any misinformation. They're only giving you data. They're only giving you facts, and then they're giving you their predictions. And now when their predictions have come true, that's really it's a problem.
YouTube, by the way, YouTube, fuck off. They deleted. I reposted Dr. John Ioannidis' initial video from early March. It was like from March 14th or something like that. I republished that on the In My Opinion, of course, channel, and they deleted it and gave me a community strike for it. Now, they do this because you can't really state anything, and you can't really state anything that is against WHO guidelines. I would actually fucking hope, by the way, YouTube, just in case any of you fuckers are listening, I would actually hope that pedophilia and animal cruelty is also against your fucking guidelines, but you have no fucking problem having that on your fucking platform. Excuse me, on your publishing house, because this is a publisher, not a platform. But they delete that down. It is literally the words of a world-renowned expert, and I understand that for all of you freaking out about there, other people said this about his work. He is the head of a major think tank in Stanford. He's world renowned. You can fucking say what the fuck you want about him, and you can discredit him all you want. His data was fucking correct. Like, that's the fucking thing. At the very beginning, he said the infection fatality rate, which is different than the case fatality rate, but the infection fatality rate was going to be around like between 0.25 and 0.3. It is literally like 0.26 or 0.27. Like, I mean, he was 100%. Him, Dr. What? There were so many actual like world-renowned population level experts that were saying, why the fuck are we doing these things? Like, we should, like, they all predicted the Sweden model. We should lock away the elderly and the sick, and we should let this run its course as quickly as possible. That way it's not out in the fucking population. All we've done with the masks, with everything like that, is we have slowed down the process of elderly people getting it, which is fine, but we should try to stop them from getting it by having all of us get it all at once, let it get through the fucking system. If we actually help them hunker down for 2 to 3 months, that instead of this 6-month bullshit, it could possibly be gone by now. Like, that's the fucking thing. Every other pandemic in the history of fucking ever, we have let it run its fucking course. People, like, we've reached a stage, and I don't know if this has occurred to you, but we have reached a stage where when I bring up going to, like, doing things like that and going to herd immunity, people are like, what would make you think we should try something that crazy? Fucking history, you stupid fucks. Like, history and data and like what it's fucking shown us.
Anyone who has an issue with herd immunity, but yet they're also for vaccines, doesn't understand how vaccines work.
It's fucking ridiculous.
And number two, which I think is interesting, right, is because this kind of goes back to what you're talking about as far as like, hey, even without a vaccine, for most people, the flu is still more dangerous. COVID is not a vaccine, things like that. So there's a few interesting things people have to keep in mind too, because when you bring up, here's people's biggest, usually what I would say is the most reasonable counter to when someone says something about, hey, we should let the young people go out and do their thing, or isolate the elderly and those at high risk. The herd immunity is they also bring up like, oh, it takes a huge, large chunk of the population to be infected with their herd immunity, and that once again shows a lack of people looking at the research. Because, and that's another thing too, about a lot of these experts who were saying, hey, we don't think that we should be doing this and that. They weren't doing it. They weren't saying that randomly. It's based on, like you said, history. And the fact that what's so funny about it is, one, we now realize that COVID-19, it's not the first strand. It's not the first strand of this virus. Has so much in common with past versions of it. And that's why really it's to assume it's going to be more similar than different. Then what's hilarious is even when people say like, it's not the flu, it has way more in common with the flu than differences. That's what's hilarious. There's supposedly like long-term effects that happen. What's funny about that is, so there was this huge study that the media put out, right, showing like, talking about like the long-term effects that happened with COVID, some of the lung stuff, the brain stuff, things like that, things that we also saw with the flu. But what's hilarious is that they actually ended up having to recall that study. Reason being is that when they went back and double checked, they found that, oh, actually, a lot of these people that had these damages were due to the underlying conditions they had, not COVID itself. But the media didn't talk about that at all. They didn't talk about the fact it was recalled. They didn't bring that back at all. But what's interesting about the thing about the whole herd immunity thing is because so many people just and the UK came out and said this, I want to say, like in June, maybe earlier. And I know you remember this video. They came out and made it very clear that, listen, the vast majority of people won't even get this virus. Not will get it and be asymptomatic, not will get it and recover quickly, won't get it. And now that more of the research over T-cell immunity and stuff like that is coming out, we're understanding why, so not only are a lot of kids not carriers, because a lot of kids won't get it, period. And then even a lot of just adults just flat out won't get it due to having T-cells. So basically the difference is, instead of like getting, for a quick breakdown, instead of like, getting the virus, recovering, and then having antibodies, what they found is for some people, where they don't have it, they didn't recover, but because of like when you look at the T cells and kind of like the memory of those cells from past different types of things they've been exposed to, the cold viruses, things like that, that they get a natural immunity tonight to where it's not about, we get recovered. They just fight off without even ever getting the virus in the first place. So because of that, we don't need anywhere near as large a part of the population to get affected for herd immunity to be reached. And that is why I believe you already see Sweden's overall cases going down, because I believe they've already reached it, as well as other areas and nations that have never shut down. And then, like you said, we can just, like I said, the reason we know it has to be demographic, we can just look at the U.S. itself and compare state to state as far as the measures taken. Compare Texas to say, like Ohio, for example, something like that, and look at the different measures that are taken, stuff like that. But look at the numbers. Look at the comparisons. You can even look at Kansas. This is very interesting. So there's a in Kansas, I believe, basically with the mask mandate, they left it to each individual county, right? And then some experts are saying, hey, based upon this, This is going to let us know how well masks really work. Because this was funny to me about the mask thing. For the past 10 plus years, you look at any data, any research, anything the CDC said, anything the WHO said over how well masks help the virus like this, and it's pretty much not at all. Like no evidence to show it. Suddenly this year, we get a couple of not even controlled studies, not where, okay, this group wears a mask, this group doesn't wear a mask, and we see how it affects the spread. No, just a couple of random little like tests where people are coughing into something like, oh, look, this person coughed into this and it found this particle. So this proves that, the mask up, no control studies, right? Well, with Kansas, when they compared them, right, first, they tried to skew it by putting counties with masks versus without masks on a different y-axis to make it seem like the ones without masks were doing so much worse. But when you actually plotted them on the same, there's like no difference.
None.
There's no difference. So it's not to say that masks make things worse as far as the spread of the virus. We can talk, there's other things that masks make, but it's the fact of, listen, I talk all the time, I don't care if somebody wants to wear a mask and it makes them feel safe. I don't care about it.
I don't care that.
My issue is purely when the government starts mandating things that is based off very weak or no real actual evidence. Like to me, when you can go to the CDC, the WHO, and they themselves will be like, say there's no actual evidence for this, but we still think you should do it. And then you still mandate that. That's crazy to me, because it's like, it would kind of be like if a random person did some random BS study being like, oh, look, you can lose weight long term without being a calorie deficit. So we're going to ignore all the past years of research for one study. It's ridiculous.
It's insane. And here's my thing. As an ex-healthcare professional, I do need to impress upon people. For any of you that are very, very pissed about us talking about masks right now and how they shouldn't be mandated because they're unconstitutional and they're stupid as fuck, please show me evidence, very clear evidence, that people inappropriately wearing masks, not following proper safety mask procedure, has not somehow increased cases, has not somehow increased infection. The concept behind what we tried to do at the very beginning, before everybody got crazy and politicized masks, that's truly what the fuck it is. Before we got crazy about that shit, it was wash your hands often, use hand sanitizer, don't touch your face, and try to avoid contact with people. And if you cough, cover your fucking, put your mouth in your fucking elbow like a fucking normal human being, right? So the don't touch your face thing is because we don't want you touching surfaces and then infecting yourself with either COVID, the flu, any other wild, like norovirus. Norovirus lives on surfaces. It's fucking horrible, especially for elderly people. I have worked in long-term care facilities where norovirus has come close to fucking wiping out a huge portion of the population. That we had to then fire everybody, redo everything, shit like that, because people are dying, and it's negligent to allow a norovirus outbreak to spread throughout an elderly home. It's just it's horrible. It goes against protocols, and the protocols are wipe everything down, make sure everybody's fucking safe, and if somebody's sick, you isolate them. Well, when people say put your mask on, I can walk around, and I don't do it much now because I live in the free state of Florida and we don't do masks much down here. Some stores still do because it's mandatory, but most of the part, I've been going to restaurants and stuff like that. Our bars are open up today. Our restaurants are open up to pretty much full capacity here within the next week or so because, our governor luckily is following the science. And while we did have some resurgence afterwards, here's a newsflash to you fuckers. Every place is going to have a resurgence afterwards because we didn't take care of this in the fucking first place. Yep. As we open up, it is more important than ever to tell very sick and elderly people to fucking isolate themselves. We are not doing that. It is fucking negligent. The CDC is killing fucking people. I said it on live fucking video, so fuck all you motherfuckers. I'll say it again. The CDC is actually physically killing people by not warning people as we open shit up that wow, this is I've not been afraid for COVID a second. I literally fucking haven't. In my time, I've been fucking shot at, knives pulled on me. I've had all sorts of crazy shit. When I was I can't believe I look back on my life. I can't believe I made it out of the fucking teens for the stupid shit I fucking did. I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 this coming up year, and I fucking cannot believe that I fucking made it out of my teens when I remember shit. Right? I'm not afraid of a virus because I'm going to take good care of my health and I'm going to watch out for myself. And I look at the fucking data. I just fucking look at the data. And the data has shown us the entire time. That's I think the thing that I found so irritating is not the death threats and not the people calling me crazy or a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I've never been called a conspiracy theorist so many times by sharing actual numbers from New York City. It's
Dude, I've been called an anti-vaxxer when I'll put data and research up that has nothing to do with anything vaccine related. It's just talking about the T-cell immunity and the fact that, hey, most people will survive and be okay with this, things like that. And I'll be called anti-vaxxer. Or if I say something like, hey, guys, you should be very careful if they're trying to rush this out faster than usual because vaccines take time and you got to be careful. Because when things are rushed and you put that in your body, there can be side effects. Like they've already shown different things like, you might possibly not be able to walk for a little bit, things like that. And when I have
to be able to walk for a little bit, it's like not even a minor thing.
It's like when I have to compare the possible risks of certain things when they were rushed before, right? If I think about okay, for me, right, and for most people, because that most people are going to be in this category, I get this virus. At worst, nothing happens to me at all. I mean, I'm doing my best, nothing happens to me at all. And at worst, I feel kind of crappy for a couple of days. Then I'm good to go, right? So if I have to think about that and compare that to taking something rushed out that could have long-term detrimental effects on my body, that's not a hard choice. That's not a hard choice at all. It's like, and my thing is, if anything, me saying that isn't anti-vax. If anything, it's trying to keep people from becoming more anti-vax. Because if you rush something out that quickly, people try it, people take it, and they get all this long-term detriment from it. Suddenly, well, I'm never trusting vaccines ever again.
Ever again, of any kind.
When actuality, it's like, it depends on what we're talking about. Like, I don't know anyone with any common sense who thinks that all vaccines are bad or anything like that. Like, there's so many vaccines out there that have done so much objective good. The idea, though, that everyone needs every single type of vaccine, that's stupid, obviously. And the idea that you should take something that's being rushed out this quickly over something that they've tried to make seem far worse than what it is in actuality, that just doesn't make sense. Yeah. And I don't understand how saying that makes somebody anti-vax.
Me either. We have somebody, the Grim Reaper has asked us a question. I agree about being wary of rush vaccines, but what is the cost of wearing a mask? The cost of wearing a mask is that you're touching your face more often, and unless you sanitize your hands before and after, and then every time you move that thing away from your mouth, you replace it with a fresh one when it's not contaminated, you're running a higher risk of infecting yourself. That's I mean, I got so sick of the fucking dumbass motherfucking argument of, well, doctors wear masks all the time. Why can't you? Doctors change their masks out all the fucking time. 1, 2, they're paid for it. 3, doctors wear masks not to stop viruses. Doctors wear masks to stop splatter.
Yeah.
Okay. You dumb fucks. It's like these people say shit and they don't research it at all whatsoever. It's like when people were wearing gloves. They were wearing gloves as if they're fucking magic, as if they can touch everything and then touch their face and shit's not going to be on the outside of the glove like it would be on the outside of their skin. We're like the dumbest fucking. 2020 is the year that America, especially, get along the human race, almost dummied themselves out of fucking existence, for real. And it's still not seen. Oh, and Grim Reaper, thanks. That made sense. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any way we shut down, and that's the thing I tell people all the time, because people keep saying, well, if we hadn't shut down, things would have been worse. And they always like to reference this one study, right, that came out, I want to say like the study was done around March, but maybe it came out around like June, something like that. They reference this one study that shows, this is what will happen to nations that don't shut down. They'll get these numbers and these numbers. First of all, no nation that hasn't shut down has come anywhere near the numbers that they predicted. Nowhere near. So that already proves that the study was invalid right there. And the two, the study was done based upon an IFR that was far higher than what we now know it actually is. So it's not even that the study was formulated properly, but because of how early they tried to do it, they didn't have as much information then as what we have now. So whenever people try to reference that study to me, I'm like, look at what it says the IFR is. It's far higher. And if the IFR was that, then maybe I could believe that, nations that did. And I don't even think so much the nations shouldn't shut down. And that's what I try to tell people. Whenever I say that, hey, we shouldn't necessarily shut down, people assume, we should have just done nothing. No. Why are those the only two options? You do other things. You can look at other nations that didn't shut down and look at the things that they did. That, hey, we could have done a better job of isolating our elderly. They've talked about that. But at no point have they come out and been like, oh, yeah, we regret not laying down. And then what's funny is even when you compare them to similar nations, right, and structures, they'll always try to compare them to but look at their neighbors in the Netherlands and stuff like that, like the nations close to them. You can't just do it based upon that. You have to actually compare nations that are similar in structure. Once again, you can't compare them to, say, New Zealand, which is like an island nation. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, here's the reality. The reality of it is, dude, and you and I both know this. If that's the Sweden got their shit over with. Okay, I have a strong imagination if they start seeing cases go up again, they'll do a better job of isolating the elderly and the sick. but they got their shit dealt with. Places like New Zealand, they can still be fucking wiped the fuck out. You know, like, I mean, that's what people understand. Like the danger of, and I think Dr. What said it the most, like the Wachowski or
yeah.
I mean, it's the other guy that they just take his shit off and they try to then they try to make it seem like he's some sort of fucking crazy fuck, even though he was head of like the fucking European CDC at some point in time. You know, I mean, like, it's amazing that like anybody that spoke out against that fucking little fucking rat bastard Fauci, and yes, I fucking hate that fucking lying sack of shit. And we'll get to that in just one second. But anybody ever says anything that goes in any way against him must be wrong. Like, fucking how? Like, I mean, look at the fucking data. Nothing that man has really spoken about has been data driven in fucking forever. And I mean, everybody's like, well, you don't know because you're not an expert. I can fucking do math. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
he hasn't been part of a lot of the research that's actually going on. He hasn't actually been out there in the field. So it's like anything you do with him is purely appeal to authority. I'm sorry. It's no, listen, I totally understand that you should be able to trust someone with a degree, with certification, with how many years of experience, right? But here's the simple reality of it. If you or I were to say right now, hey, you can eat as many calories as you want and still lose weight. We're both experts in terms of fitness and health, right? Mm-hmm. We are wrong. Doesn't matter about our degrees. Doesn't matter about our experience. We're wrong. If somebody who's clinically obese comes out and says, well, actually, you have to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight long term, it doesn't matter what he looks like. It doesn't matter what his experience is. That is a fact.
Yeah.
Information is made valid by the information itself. Now, with that being said, is it unfortunate when you have people who are experts just spouting nonsense that's clearly based off a narrative? Absolutely. But it doesn't change the fact that facts are facts. So that whole, I just think it's so funny when people are like, well, we're not the experts. We don't know this. We don't. And I you degree of you shouldn't talk about things that you don't understand. But you can look at numbers. Come on. And if you don't know how to read research, take the time to learn. Because
understand that like if you understand like the statistical realms of possibilities of error, like again, like the average age of death in the United States of COVID is within a statistical margin of error for the average life expectancy figure.
Yeah.
That alone tells you who we need to, like, that's the average, motherfuckers. Yeah. That's the average. Like, that means a fucking shit ton of people older than the average age of life expectancy died from this. You know, people don't want to admit stuff. If I do have to answer stuff real quick. Somebody said, why do you swear so much? Just to trigger little fuckers like you fuck. If you're at a stage right now in the world we're looking at with fucking civil unrest in the streets, fucking cops getting shot at, people getting fucking murdered, and all sorts of shit every fucking day. And if me saying fuck bothers you, you need to find a really, really, really fucking safe room and stay in that motherfucker because the world's too fucking hard for you. Okay? Glad I got that over with. The fucking crazy shit that I'm seeing right now is that people are still in their fucking people want to be terrified. We went through the whole fucking shit of like, oh my God, well, it might be killing kids because this disorder that fucking happens. Meanwhile, when you look at the fucking disorder, it's caused by, it is an inflammation in valve tissue in the heart, right? Can be caused by just about any virus. The flu, a cold can do it, all sorts of shit. There's 3,000 cases diagnosed in the United States every single fucking year. In the fucking article, it drove me fucking insane. In the motherfucking article was how, like, out of 15 kids, only 6 of them tested positive for COVID, and they were trying to say it was related. It's like so amazing. Like, do we not critical thinking is fucking dead this year? It's super fucking dead.
When I saw people like, okay, so in pediatrics, right, when the pediatric journal came out and released, right, and mind you, pediatrics, their whole field is kids and their diseases. When I had people coming out being like, well, what do these people really know anyway? Dr. Fauci says that school should be open, so I don't care what this journal says. Their whole field is literally kids and their diseases. There's still, I believe, to this point, there still hasn't been a single event of a child passing this on to a teacher. Mm-hmm. Like, to this day, still not a single case of that in the world. Kids are not the drivers of this. Seems like it's very difficult for them to even get it, and when they do, it's very difficult for them to spread it. And then what's funny is people will take studies and just misinterpret what they mean. Like, for example, there's a study that basically shows that, like, oh, but when kids do get it, they seem to have more like pretty much like virus, like acid in their bodies or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But they already established way earlier that that's not indicative of them spreading this or not, because that more of that doesn't mean it spreads. It doesn't matter how much that they have if they don't spread it. And it's like little things. It's like people, like you said, people are going out of their way to try to. It's like instead of being happy when you say, "Oh, hey, you can send your kids to school," or instead of being happy when it says, "Hey, the data shows that if you're in this demographic, you really don't have anything to worry about." Instead of being happy about it, they find it gets. And the reason that is out is because they have really taken fear and turned it into a virtue.
Oh my God.
That's what it is. It's virtue signaling. But now instead of it being about morality of like, oh, help this person, it's almost like, hey, if you're not afraid of this, you're evil. Something's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
They really turned it into virtue.
If you don't want to, if you don't want to wear a mask, you're killing people. There is literally and somebody just said the burden of proof is on us to prove that masks may be increasing thing. I'll actually sit on just logic that the more you touch your face, the more you're going to fucking infect yourself. That's actually fucking scientific fact. And I can produce dozens of meta-analysis, peer-reviewed studies that simply say that wearing a mask does not stop a fucking virus. You have data that we put together. You have studies that were fucking thrown together in last minute that is supported by very fucking serious bias.
And once again, I
have proven my shit.
Yeah, and once again, you know what? Once again, like if somebody chooses to wear a mask because they feel safe. Here's my issue: when you are finding people, when you are shutting things down, and when you are basically like forcing people to do it, and you can't provide the data to combat the years of research we have that this does not help stop the spread of a virus, that is what I have an issue with. There should not be people fined or people in jail or people getting arrested for not wearing a mask. That's ridiculous.
It's fucking ridiculous. Who the fuck? First of all, where's my due process? You're basically saying that I am a threat. How? How am I a threat? You think I have a virus? Why? Well, because it's contagious. What the fuck? That's every fucking virus. This one is not deadly enough to fucking imprison people for. And if it is, you don't have in the United States, for those of you that aren't watching, in the United States, they don't actually have the authority to turn the Constitution off. We just kind of have pretended they have. Anybody that's been arrested for this shit or fined for this shit should get their money back. And the lawsuits on the state level are going to be fucking crazy. Your governor's going to get sued the fuck out of. There hasn't been a reason to have any fucking mitigation in Texas for fucking ever. Your guys' numbers did not fucking show it. California governor, it's barely America anymore over there. And I don't even understand how people are fucking okay with that shit. But to be very clear, everything that I believe that I'm not going to speak for you, but I think this is of you too. I believe everything you and I have said was in an effort, because I post all the time, we picked wrong, we should be protecting the sick and the elderly. My thing is I worked with elderly people. I ran nutrition departments for hospitals, long-term cares, senior livings, independent livings, freestanding Alzheimer's buildings. Most of the people that were in the care of the people that worked for me were elderly people or sick people. So to protect them is not only something that I think we should have done, but I'm rather actually pretty passionate about. The only people in my family that I've been concerned about this virus for were sickly and immunocompromised people, because they're of advanced age. And for them, they are still, just so everybody understands, they are still, in fucking pretty much self-isolation. And they only see other people that have been in self-isolation for months. So they actually have some friends now that all have been in isolation, so they can isolate together. They trust each other enough and have known each other enough that they can actually have people over their house and shit like that. It is still actually they had like 7 people over their house the other day, which is illegal where they live, which is fucking ridiculous. And I do think that anybody that knows me could tell you that showing up at my parents' house, talking to my dad about he has too many people in his house and the people need to leave, would probably result in me bailing my dad out of jail. So, that's.
Well, I'll give my thoughts, but I want to answer a question real quick. Synthetic Teapot, she said, honest question, Alan. So what about businesses that implement things like shoes and shirt required in order to do this happening? Is that kind of the same thing?
Stupid.
Well, here's my thing, because fair question. But my thing is this: I don't care if the owner of a business, in the same way I don't care if an individual decides, a mask makes you feel safer. If the owner of a business decides, you know what, I don't want people in my business without masks because I'm scared of this and that makes me feel safe, I'm okay with that. That's very different than the government saying, "Hey, you as a business have to do this, or we're shutting you down." That's the difference. That's it. It all comes down to like your choice, basically. That's what it is. I don't care if a business says, "Hey, we as a business, you have to do A, B, and C if you want to come into our business." That's your right as a business.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely your right, and I 100% support that. What I do not support is the government coming in and taking away your right as an individual or a business based upon something that is simply not data driven. And it's irresponsible. Go ahead.
Dude, the argument is a plea to emotion too. Like you're actually saying that like I should have to wear a mask. Prove that I am a danger. Prove it. If you can't prove I'm a danger, I want my due fucking process. And if you can't prove I'm a danger, immediately get the fuck away from me. I'll do whatever. Here's my thing. If I'm not wearing a mask and you want to only be around people that wear masks, avoid me. Like I'm a free person. I was born in the United States. I'm a United States citizen. I'm a vet. I'm a free person. If you want to infringe upon my freedoms, I will. Here's my thing. If I really, really believe that it was like imminent threat that we all need to hunker down, you don't have to tell me to give up my freedom. I would voluntarily isolate myself. Because
most of us did when this all first started. Most of us had no issue doing that.
Right. But the government, nobody, I don't care which fucking old rich white asshole you're going to vote for, because that's our fucking choices this time. I don't care which one you vote for. I don't care what your political line is. You nor the government has a right to tell me that the Constitution is suspended, because they draw their power from the Constitution, one. And two, they cannot set a law or mandate that usurps the Constitution. It just fucking can't. You cannot infringe upon somebody's life, liberty, and happiness just because you're fucking scared, and that's what it is. You're fucking scared. Nothing more. This shit is fucked up. And here's why. Here's how you know shit is truly fucked up. People only gave a fuck about catching it themselves. I really believe that. I mean, that was it. People were terrified that they were going to catch it themselves. I keep hearing this shit. Well, you can't catch a car accident. You can't catch this. You can't catch that. You know what else you can't catch? Any fucking thing if you isolate. I have no idea why you think that it like somehow or another my doctors can say to me, you have to wear this mask because it protects other people. Your health is your health. Your doctor tells you what you need to do. Your doctor shouldn't tell you what other people need to do to keep you healthy. It is your responsibility. You are a fucking person. You have self-responsibility. Absolutely. Until you fucking accept it, you can shut the fuck up and work harder at that. It is not fair to destroy people's businesses, livelihoods, their fucking entire lives. Make it so they wonder how they're going to fucking feed their fucking children because a bunch of people are afraid. If you don't want to go into that business because you're afraid, stay the fuck home.
So that's simple. It really is that simple.
If you don't think bars should be open, don't fucking go to one. If you think that people going to bars to spread COVID, stay the fuck in. Like, I mean, you have every right to be out and about just as I do. You have every right to wear a mask just as I do. And for the record, I have worn a mask since this happened because I've been in businesses or something like that demanded it, and or I've flown to see my elderly immunocompromised loved ones, and I still stayed way away, just like fucking flu season, because I could kill my immunocompromised elderly family and friends with the fucking flu too. Have you ever another argument we got? You could be killing somebody's grandma if you go outside with a mask. That happens every fucking flu season. Like you can have the flu, give it to somebody else. They can give it to a grandma, and grandma dies. That happens every fucking flu season. You know what they call that? Life.
And beyond that, I'm sorry. If you're concerned about that, then you need to make sure that you're staying home or that you're not visiting your grandma. This is going to sound very, very cold. Someone else's grandmother is not my responsibility. Nope. Like my family is my responsibility. Yeah. So, for example, if I need to go to the store to purchase food or to purchase something for my wife or to take something to my parents, something like that, I'm not going to not do that and not take care of my family because somebody else who doesn't maybe value their family decide to go out there, possibly get contained, get spread, and then go back and visit grandma. That's not my responsibility. That's ridiculous. In the same way that it's not my responsibility to go shut down restaurants that are letting obese people eat more than they should. It's not my responsibility to shut down bars. It's not my responsibility to burn down stores that sell cigarettes. You have a choice. And I'm not going to take that away from you. I can disagree with what you're doing and how you're living, but I will 100% support your right to live how you choose to live. And it's that simple. And like I said, if this was something where where the data and the numbers show that, this is extremely deadly to most people, then okay, you would have way more people being like, okay, let's chill out. But that's just simply not the case. Because as we talked about before, it's usually very, very hard for a virus to be extremely contagious and also extremely deadly, which is something we also said from day one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I don't get how people got there so quick. Like somehow, like you have a right to tell me what to do. You know what I mean? Like I find that crazy. The mask thing, by the way, and here's the fucked up thing. Obviously, it's got to be. It's most of these people are doing it because they're following a political party. And I'm just going to be very clear. I've said this on other videos, just in case all of you don't know. I am an independent voter, and I have voted Democrat. I've voted Republican. I've voted Independent. I have voted all across the spectrum. I am actually. I consider myself a critical thinker, so therefore I'm not just going to be like, hey, I believe everything this motherfucker says because of what fucking they put in front of their name, whether it's a D or an R. That is, in my mind, that is like the epitome of ignorance. It's very fucking stupid. I am going to side with who is going to shit on the Constitution the least. That is who I'm going to vote for. No candidate, none, will ever get my vote by stating they're going to mandate shit. Ever. That's not America. Your government works for you. They are our employees. They're our elected officials. They are our representatives. They are not our fucking lords and masters. We need to stop viewing them as that way, because that's a huge problem that we got it. I mean, here's what's going to happen. Like what I think is going to happen in California, people are just going to say "fuck you" to the government, to the state government. They're just going to open their shit because they're starving.
Oh, it's already happening. It's I can tell for a fact it's already happening. It's already so many businesses that are doing their thing, running on the down low, things like that. Because I mean, it gets to a point where it's like, once again, you weigh the risk versus the reward. And it's like this, and I don't think people fully grasp that. I don't think people, and like I said, I'm pretty sure I've said this on one of our past videos too. You are speaking from a point of privilege. If you say, well, you should be able to stay inside as long as needed and not work as long as needed if it's like saving lives, and it's like, that is such a privileged point of view to be from. Like I said, you and I are at a point where we were fortunate enough to where our typical daily lives didn't change all that drastically from things like the shutdown, things like that, because of the nature of what we do. But there's a lot of people who aren't able to say that. A lot of people that we both work with probably weren't able to say that. And it kind of goes back to...
Let me tell you something. This shit would have caught me like 3 years ago when I was transitioning. When I was transitioning from being a healthcare executive to just doing our businesses full time, I would have been super fucked. I mean, luckily in that time frame, we've done, we've fucking worked our asses off. But I would have been super fucked, like super fucked.
Yeah. And like I said, it goes beyond. One, I hate how people say, oh, lives are worth more than the economy, as if though the two are not intertwined. I also hate how people don't understand that people that have actually directly died from things that have shut down, increased alcohol overuse, drug overuse, domestic abuse, child abuse, just violent murder, violent crime in general has skyrocketed and gone up. And it's this thing where it's kind of like you said, because I've even been asked that to the point you asked. I've been asked like, hey man, things they're pretty much normal in Texas. Sometimes you have to wear masks, things like they're normal in Texas. Your life is good. So like, why do you care? And I'm like, well, to me, it's simply the fact that right, as simplistic as it is, right is right, wrong is wrong. And I just find it very hard for me to see something that's really impacting millions of people and not care. I don't like that's why I take listen. I know full well that if I'm talking about from an optimal perspective of what's best for my platform and YouTube and growth and being popular, I am fully aware that getting on here and talking about this stuff with you is probably not doing me any favors. But I do it because if there's even one person watching this that hears this and they're either somebody where they want to express this stuff but they know how to articulate it and this helps them, or if it's somebody where they truly were scared but they hear this and they're like, maybe I do need to look into this more, and they can live their life more. If there's one person that receives truth or is one to go look up facts, then that is worth it to me, because that one person can then help several others and it spreads stuff like that. And that's what it comes down to. Like I'm like I said, I'm a very for being a younger dude, I have very old school values, and that's what it comes down to. I believe, to me, that is going to help more people than spreading fear, and it's the right thing to do. So,
the reality of it is this: like, I don't make any video to try to get popularity. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure people understand that. Like, I mean, I really think that, like, double check the shit I said. check the facts. Don't trust me. Don't trust you. You should go to the source data. That's what me and people understand. You and I have been talking this entire time. I don't think we share articles with each other that much. It's like, here, look at this study, look at that study, look at this study. Like, we share the source fucking data from what people are talking about.
That's it.
The source data has been literally so fucking misconstrued so many fucking times. It's disgusting.
Yes.
And like the immediate dismissal of antibody tests, of serological tests, like, because it immediately, and I mean fucking immediately, drops the fucking IFR immediately. Yep. You know, like like if you go off the serological test for Florida, because we fucking tested like a huge portion of the population. If you go on the serological tests, something like 6 million people have had this in Florida, or like 4.9. Actually, it's 5 million people, I believe, that had this in Florida. So if you take the 10,000 people that have passed away or whatever it is, divide that by 6 million fucking people, it's not that fucking, like, you get to fucking see, like, oh shit, it's not that fucking deadly. It's contagious, absolutely. Maybe we should protect the sick and the elderly. Like, I can fucking bring that back every single time. I've had bunches of people say, well, because I'm gloating that we were right, and not because, like, hey, I told you so, but like, okay, we were right. We fucking told you. Now fucking listen. But it's like, people are like, oh, hindsight's 2020.
Hindsight. when you've had no. Hindsight is when you didn't know, no one was telling you, no information was out there, and you get the information later. Hindsight is not when you have chose to demonize, remove, or ignore everybody that was trying to tell you, and then later you find out they were telling you the truth. That's not how that works. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. When we're saying clearly, like, no, we should be doing this, and the data. I mean, just so everybody understands, the data has literally supported almost everything me and this motherfucker have said, like down the fucking road, like almost every fucking single time. And for people like us that have been just looking straight at the data, watching the CDC and the World Health Organization and Fauci, and I wanted to speak on Fauci real quick too, watching them dance around the things that should have actually calmed people down is telling. Like, I mean, it's very, very telling. Like, we're still at the stage like, oh, this fall and winter is going to be really, really bad. Not if we advise the sick and the elderly people to try to stay in and avoid contact as much as possible, you dumb fucks. And here's why, by the way, Fauci's a piece of shit. We shouldn't have anybody, and I'm a firm believer in this, we shouldn't have anybody in our government that's been in government for 40 fucking years. He's been in our government for 40 fucking years. Anybody. And I mean anybody. If you're on Congress, if you're anything, we shouldn't. That is too long. You have been in government too long. You don't actually have contact with the people enough. You don't fucking know what the fuck you're talking about. In my opinion, of course, it's just me. However, this man openly admitted that he lied. Like it's either he is lying before or lying after about the masks, and there was no inquiry around like that. Here's the reality: if masks actually saved a bunch of fucking lives, and for 3 months that fucking weaselly little fucking lying piece of shit Fauci was telling people not to wear masks because they don't do anything. He elaborated. I published the video. He elaborated. It doesn't really help. It blah, blah, blah. It doesn't give that perfect protection. The whole fucking spiel he went through. So he was either lying then or he's lying now. So which one or the other? If he was lying then and told people not to wear masks for 3 months and masks actually saved lives, bunches of fucking people died. I mean, like, we're at the point where we're telling people to wear torn T-shirts on their fucking face because that's better. He couldn't have said that back then. Some protection. It couldn't have been like, hey, I trust you as American citizens to do the right thing, and please don't buy the PPE, or tell people not to sell people the PPE so we can have it for other people. But you should possibly wear something over your face because it will help. If that, then okay. But it's a lie either then or it's a lie either now, one or the other, about the masks. And very fucking clearly, he should be held accountable to it. Like, he should be held accountable to it. If it's the case, people fucking died. Like, if they actually saves lives, people died. People should demand he be put on trial for it.
It's just very inconsistent. Both things he and a lot of the first of all, I think it's hilarious when the governor will say, this business has to stay shut down. And then later you find out the scandal that, they were actually going to this specific type of business when they thought nobody was watching, stuff like that. But the inconsistency of, like I said, even the way we shut down, it's like, okay, so we claim that we're shutting down to protect people and stop the spread. But people can still go to Walmarts. People can still go to this and that in droves. And then even with the phases, okay, you can go to the mall right now. You can go to the movie theater. You can go to these restaurants. You can go to a restaurant, wear the mask, sit down, take the mask off. But you can't go to the gym. You can't go to the small business. You can't go to the small shop, things like that. And then beyond that, it's just a matter of like, okay, at this point, with everything that is known, everything that we see, even if they want to say in hindsight, okay, fine. With everything that is known now, why do you still have some of these states and some of these governors still not letting up? Where's the excuse at that point? It's ridiculous. It just doesn't make any sense. And to me, if people can understand a bias and narrative, I don't know what to say or do at this point. It's like, because to me, it gets to the point of cognitive dissonance. I can show you all the research, all the studies, all the facts every day. But if you just don't want to accept it, and for whatever reason people don't want to accept that, oh, these people that are in power might have their own agenda, then I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even a conspiracy theory thing, but like you can't tell me that we're not politicizing every little fucking thing that's being done right now. So I mean, obviously, I've been called a conspiracy theorist so much that it doesn't matter anymore because they're just going to assume it anyway. But what the fuck, people? Like, you're telling me that like one side of our political aisle both sides of our political aisle won't take advantage of fucking something to try to fucking skew it for them in an election year? Are you out of your fucking mind, stupid? I mean, that's just crazy. Like, we have so much crazy shit that is like been catalyzed at least by this shit going on that it amazes me that people are still talking about COVID. It really fucking does. Here's the thing, like I'm actually seeing, and I wanted to transition. We've talked about that for about an hour, and well, we were right. But with the shit that's going on right now, and I wanted to be very clear to everybody, right? Because we're in a very, very weird time right now. I'm friends with this young man. Me and you have been friends for years now, right? I'm not having him on here to talk about this because he's black, but I do want his perspective because he's black. I mean, that is not racist. That is me acknowledging that he's actually black. If I didn't acknowledge that we had different skin color, it would like fucking, that's racist to me. Like, no, we're all the same. No, we're not. You've been through shit I couldn't possibly imagine. Just like I've probably been through some shit you haven't been through. But I wanted to get some insight from you. Like, where do you see this stuff coming to fruition? Like, I personally, I'll get this out. I personally believe we need a radical retraining of almost all police systems, and I think that we need to actually look at the laws. Like, I don't think that we should actually I think we need to look at the laws, the for-profit prison system. A for-profit prison system has an inherent interest to keep people imprisoned. It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, it's just fucking common sense. But we're going through some crazy shit right now. There's rioting going on in Lancaster, PA right now for Black Lives Matter because a young I don't even know if the man was color or anything like that, right? If he was black or if he was white, I don't know which color he was. Ran out of his house when a police officer was called there on a domestic dispute. Ran out of his house after the police officer with a knife gets shot because play stupid games, win stupid fucking prizes, and there's rioting in the streets.
Oh, you're talking about the Jacob Blake case specifically?
No, I'm talking about last night, dude. I'm talking about last night. That's how readily.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yesterday in Lancaster, PA, the police were called to a condo, I believe it was, and they could hear like body cam on and everything, right?
Right.
They could hear the man screaming from inside. They tell the young woman that answers the door. They tell her to move to the side, and then this dude with a fucking butcher knife bursts out the fucking door, running after the cop. The cop turns around, runs, and as they're running, turns. I think it's like 4 shots. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
They immediately start rioting. Like this dude. Like, at what time does stuff like that diminish the actual message of we need some reform?
So first of all, let me just start off by saying, so I feel like there's a few things that had to be clarified. So one, I'm with you as far as like believing I'm independent. I'm a big believer in you take each situation as is, you evaluate things like that. When it comes to a lot of the racial issues and tension in America, I think that you're lying to yourself if you don't see the history and see some parts of this that are systemic in nature, as far as like just the way certain things are set up. Whether we're talking about, like you said, like the prison system, whether we're talking about even things like the welfare system and incentives that provides, and I'll get into that. But then at the same time, I also think that you're not being honest if we don't accept the fact that in a lot of these situations, they're flat out lied about, twisted, manipulated, or completely try to take out any form of self-responsibility out of it, which I'm not okay with. So here's my issue with things like that. And here's my issue with even things like the whole Jacob Blake case, right? Okay. Even though, yes, like you said, I'm black, you're white, stuff like that, there's still far more to me as an individual than being black. I am a human being where I can make my own choices. I have my own upbringing, my own individual culture. Everyone's culture is slightly individual to their own degree, right? All right, with that being said, if somebody attacks a police officer with a weapon and gets put down, or if somebody is blatantly resisting, right? Like you break away from the police physically, you try to run from them, you try to reach for a weapon, whatever the case that may be, right? We can say all day, well, I wish you would have had to die, I wish the cops could have done this and that, but it gets to a point where my issue is this: we're starting to see criminals as black first and criminals second. I have a very big issue with that. And mind you, being a criminal does not by default mean that you deserve death by any means. But my issue when we start rioting over people who died, not because of the color of skin, if we look at the situation, not because of the color of skin, but because of the actions that they took, right? Because there's a very big difference between if I'm walking down the street, minding my own business, a police officer comes up to me, starts harassing me, and then kills me, versus if I take a knife and try to stab a police officer, right? And then I get shot in the process. Two very different scenarios. And my problem is, I'm sorry, if we're trying to bring awareness to the situation, right, to this problem, but then people look into the story for themselves and they see, wait, as far as I'm concerned, this cop shooting this guy was in self-defense or was justified. Well, what does that say? How does that help the cause or the movement? That's, if anything, it's going to make people think it's a joke. That's like the boy who cried wolf. If we start taking every single time an individual who happens to be black getting arrested or shot and automatically say it's racism or automatically say it's police brutality without taking just a few minutes to look into the situation to see, okay, well, what actually happened, that is a problem. And speaking candidly, it's a form of racism in and of itself. It's just, instead of looking at a black person and assuming, oh, they deserved it for sure because they're black, and now it's, oh, the person's black, there's no way they could have possibly done anything deserving of this action. And that's ridiculous to me. It's like, look, I'm sorry, I'm a black man. If I go attack an officer, if I go attack anybody, or if the cops have me restrained, right, and then I break away from them, and then I run away, or if I reach into a vehicle to grab a weapon and they shoot me, that is on me. That has nothing to do with me being black. And I would do the same thing. I'll say it right here, right now. And that's something that people don't understand. A lot of times when it comes to like a lot of these police officers being like tried and stuff like that in the situation, it has to be like, okay, would anybody else rational do the same thing in this situation? And I think it's very unfortunate when we take something like George Floyd, where it was blatantly like wrong and could have been avoided, and compare it to these. And granted, situation I have to look into it myself, so I won't speak too much on that. But compare it to even something like the Jacob Blake case, I have a big issue with that because it's not the same thing. Just because there's a situation where there's an officer, regardless if the officer is white, black, whatever, and then there's a black individual shot, that does not automatically mean racism, and that does not automatically mean police brutality. And when we act like it does, we cause justification for a lot of horrible people. And then we also start dehumanizing and demonizing people who are just doing their jobs. And to me, when that starts happening, you start seeing what we're seeing already. You got a lot of people who are leaving the force, who very well could have been good officers who haven't done anything. And it's like the bar for entry is just going to get lower and lower because, we're losing people. And that's going to cause more issues. And people don't get how it's okay to acknowledge there's a problem. And I'm very happy that more people acknowledge there's a problem. But when your solutions create more problems rather than actually like addressing and fixing what's going on, that doesn't help anything. So it's ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry, like, to me, and what I think is really unfortunate is I can sit here and say that, right, and be like, hey, listen, if this person did A, B, and C and was shot in the process, I can understand that. If I say that because I'm black, people can be like, oh, well, yeah, he's got a point. That's a really good way of thinking about it. If you say that because you're white, you're racist. I have an issue with that as well. I think that's ridiculous.
Here's my thing: like, I don't care what color a person is. If you are resisting arrest, like, I've literally been held at gunpoint by the police before for mistaken identity. You know what I mean? Like they came up, like there was obviously a very dangerous person around, held at gunpoint. When they let me go, they apologized, and I was like, you could have been trying to stop, you could have been trying to fucking basically, stop somebody from going from hurting somebody I know. Right? That's how I feel. Like that fucking scary shit. But and I damn near pissed myself. But I stood fucking still and fucking let them fucking check me out. You know what I mean? Because like, no matter what, like I told them, like I got in the car, it's in the fucking, blah blah blah. Listed off everything I fucking had because I don't want to fucking die. Because I mean, these people are trying to get fucking home too. And when we defend people that resist arrest to the point where like, what the fuck? Like the one guy was like, Jacob Blake, at his fucking at the person who was accusing him of rape at their fucking house. Police called on them, fucking resisting physically, walking through two tasers. The walking through two tasers,
yeah.
Holy fuck, man! Like I mean, that's fucking crazy,
Yeah.
And then he reaches into a car, and the biggest thing I got was like, well, isn't 7 shots excessive? He ain't dead.
He's not dead. And beyond that, here's my thing. Here's the thing I hate about that situation. I'm gonna get my full breakdown of the situation as quick as what I can. Okay, so he gets called because of a domestic situation, right? That's the first thing. We already know when officers are called in on a situation that they get to see the dude's record, right? So we already can see that, okay, he's known for pulling weapons out on people illegally, domestic abuse, and sexual assault. Okay, so we know what type of individual we're dealing with. Does that mean by default we go in there guns blazing? Absolutely not. But they did it. They get there. Have him physically restrained, right? Because this is the thing I love. You got so many people posting it, right? Within the first, only seeing 5 seconds of the clip, so many people posting it like racism, police brutality. They should have restrained him. They should have tased him. They could have done A, B, and C. Well, they did physically restrain him. He broke away, walked up for 2 tasers, and even at that point, they didn't shoot him. They had their guns out on him, but they're still saying, "Don't walk away. Stop moving. Don't walk away." You walk towards your vehicle, which one? Because everyone's saying like, "Oh, his kids were around," stuff like that. Me personally, if someone that I love is in a vehicle and there are guns on me, whether it's cops, thugs, or whoever has a gun on me, I'm not walking towards that vehicle if I actually care about them. That's the first thing. Secondly, if I'm already known for pulling out weapons, and then allegedly I already had let the officers know that I had a weapon in the vehicle, I well, this is how I've been telling people: if it's you and you're sitting there and you've tried to physically restrain this person, you've tried tasing them, they're walking, reaching into their car, they're known for pulling out weapons, are you going to wait to see if they're going to pull it out and shoot at you, or are you going to fire? Secondly, the dude's alive. Thirdly, here's my thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, but they shot him in the back." That's probably the only reason he's alive. Being completely honest. Had they been shot that many times from the front, much more likely of probably hitting a vital organ. And then also for them to have circled all the way around to the front and shoot from the front, that's more time where he could have possibly pulled the weapon out. Yep. So, and my issue is this. To me, if these cops were racist, right? They would have shot him after he resisted the first time. If this is blatant police brutality, like why wait? Why give him that many chances, right?
Right.
It just gets to a point where I don't care about the color of this dude's skin in this context because I can't find any type of reason to believe that these officers are racist. Like I can't. So my issue is that people are seeing this dude as black first, and then everything he shows, which goes against the whole idea of how you fight against racism. And be like, hey, I'm not going to judge you by the color of your skin. I'm going to judge you by your character, the choices you make, the actions you take. And if we want to talk about, okay, well, what type of culture or environment was this dude brought up in to make these choices? I'm all about that. If we want to talk about what we can do so that to put people in a better environment to make better choices, that's fine. But that does not change the fact of the choices this dude made in that situation that ended up with him getting shot. This man has received millions in donations. This person who beats women and has sexually assaulted someone has received millions in donations. Why? Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous.
Vice presidential candidate has told this motherfucker that she is proud of him. Like, I never thought we'd fucking live in this fucking world. I put this on my social media, and a lot of people got pissed off about that. If I was at that house, if that was a family member of mine's house, and I was there, the police could have taken their time. They could have followed the coroner. Because if you are accused of raping somebody in my family and show up at that fucking house, you are forfeited your fucking existence.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, probably nobody waited for any information to come out before they started. You would think at this point we would have learned, hey, there's a 5-second clip going around social media. probably should wait till you can find the full clip or a little bit more information comes out before you start saying anything about it. And that's what I find hilarious. You notice now, like certain news outlets and stuff like that we're talking about, they're not talking about it as much now. Why? Well, because of the facts route. Are they going to go back and be like, hey, we were wrong to say this about this guy or that or this? It's like, it's just really, really interesting to me. And what's unfortunate is people, if you talk about one specific situation or one issue, people want to say, okay, but what about this, that, and the third? It's like, you got to address things one at a time. If we're having a discussion about systemic issues going on, let's talk about the systemic issues and focus on that. If we're talking about some things that can happen on a more individual culture level, let's talk about that. You got to address it from all parts, but to act like, oh, it's just this or just that, it doesn't work. And that's another thing too. I need people to understand. I'm sorry. You don't fix an issue by ignoring it, absolutely, but you never fix an issue by exaggerating it too, because then you're going to overcorrect. And I feel like, unfortunately, there's a lot of that going on right now. There's a lot of overcorrection by people.
I would agree. Like, I mean, especially because when you literally get to the point where you're defending, like, defending people like Jacob Blake, I mean, like, you can look at that video, and I'm not talking about it for anything else but this video, okay?
Yeah.
When you can get to the point where you're defending this man showing up at the woman who has accused him of sexual assault, charges, warrant, everything like that, and shows back up at her house, and then fucking goes at the police and it catches one, like, again, like the person could have shot him in the back of the head or anything like that. Like I find it amazing. People are like, well, maybe we should have shot him in the leg, or maybe we should have stepped back and talked him down. Or since there's kids around and we don't want this to escalate, we could put one in the skull. I mean, like, because the idea is like, where does it go? Like, we've already tried to de-escalate. We've already tried to step away. We've already tried to do all this shit. We've already tried to tase. We've already tried to just show up and have him come peacefully. We've already tried all these things. So when this is defended, I mean, it makes it so people care more about the color of somebody's skin than their actual morals, than the person's actual actions.
Exactly.
That to me is racism.
It is. It absolutely is. It's just racism to the opposite extreme. It's like if you look at me and see that, and not because of your interactions with me, or not because you've heard me speak or like that, but if you look at me and see that I'm black and you assume, oh, he's a thug, he's a criminal, he's going to do wrong, you're racist. But if you look at me, see the color of my skin, and assume, oh, he can never do no wrong, anyone that does anything to him is because they were wronging him, they were racist, not because he's a jerking like that, you're also racist. Because either way, you are making assumptions about me purely based off the color of my skin. That's ridiculous. That's not, and honestly, that's not what most of us want. It's not what most people usually want. Like, yes, we want you to get out of our way. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I just want the same rights, opportunities as everybody else. That's it. And I feel like it's unfortunate when, like I said, things like that, situations like that, keep us from having the real conversations about actual police brutality and actual racism, because you're taking something that was not police brutality, that was not cops being poorly trained, that was not racism. You're taking something where it's just, I'll put it this way, I can almost guarantee you, if the same situation happened and Jacob Blake was white, one, there wouldn't be many opinions about it because you probably wouldn't have heard about it. Two, people would probably be celebrating.
Yeah. I mean, just to be real, just so everybody understands, there are lots and lots and lots of, like, to me, police violence happens much more proportionally to poor people than anything. Like, it's a poverty thing, like there are many fucking in the middle of the fucking nowhere trailer parks where people get fucked up on a daily basis, like black, white, doesn't matter the fucking skin color. Poor is poor. We need to do something about that. We need to give people opportunity. And is there still discrimination? Absolutely. Let's be real. Absolutely. Okay. And it's a fucking problem. But when we make it so everything is racist and like it dilutes the fucking message, you
diminish what it means. I'll put it this way. There was a time for me, right, when somebody used the term racist, or when somebody would say something about police brutality, where I would immediately be like, whoa, what? But now it's so unfortunate. My first reaction is skepticism. It is like, it's like, okay, let me go see what's what. And I think that's unfortunate, because I should be able to hear those terms especially as a black man in America, and feel like I can take it more seriously. But now I've seen so many situations where people call it when it's not what it is, and it's like you are taking away from it. You are taking away. If I sit here and try to have a conversation with someone about racism and police brutality, and they suddenly bring up the Jacob Blake thing, I have to suddenly have a whole conversation about that, explain that no, I agree with you. That's not what that is. But that doesn't negate the fact that it does still happen. And that's the problem. You put all that attention on this.
But there was a recent, the other day too, this fucking piece of fucking scum shitbag LA police officer was fucking, like, I don't think it was in LA, but he's fucking like kneeling on some dude, pounding him in the fucking face. That is excessive force. That is discrimination. That motherfucker, not only, he's gotten fired, but he should go to fucking jail. He should be arrested right now. The fact that he's not arrested right now, if he's not, because I haven't checked on that today, but if he's not arrested right now, that's actually a fucking problem.
Absolutely.
Okay, like he very clearly was smashing this fucking young man's face in, and I don't know the young man's name. I don't know what he was guilty of, or being arrested. I don't know any of that shit. I don't know if he was resisting. All I can tell you is that there was two 200-pound men laying on top of this 130-pound kid, and one of them was literally wailing on this guy's face. That is brutality.
That's brutality. Okay? Absolutely.
When I see a person handcuffed, face down on the fucking ground with another man kneeling upon the man's neck as the man pleads for breath, that is brutality. But when I see somebody run at a police officer with a knife, that is a fucking instance of you play stupid fucking games and you want a stupid fucking prize.
And that's the problem. No distinction anymore. It's like people don't make that distinction. It's like I can't fix the problem if you're calling something that's not the problem that problem. I can't do anything about it.
And I mean, it's so like, and then what I don't understand, then we go burn our own neighborhoods. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Because it's not, I mean, this is not, we burn black neighborhoods. Like, this is a white and black thing. Like, white and black people are members of this Black Lives Matter movement, and they're burning down other citizens' shit.
Yeah.
Like that, it was like, I would be totally
20 plus people that died, I believe, in the just in the George Floyd riots alone. Yeah.
Right. And I would be like, here's my thing. If there's going to be protests, absolutely. We were fucking founded on protest. Sometimes if it's, an aggressive protest, as long as you're aiming it towards the people you actually want to protest. If you want the government to change, protest the fucking government. Okay. Yeah. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, because then people will be like, oh my God, he told us to burn government buildings. No, I'm not telling you to burn any fucking thing. But if you're going to focus your anger or anything like that, focus it at people that you are actually fucking pissed at. Don't burn down the fucking local fucking laundromat. Don't burn down the fucking local fucking business. Don't fucking make it so buses don't want to go there. Don't make it so people can't get their fucking medications because the fucking CVS is burnt the fuck down or fucking hauled the fuck out. Don't destroy your own shit. And if you see somebody coming into your fucking town, even if you're at a peaceful protest, or even if you're at a protest that's more argumentative or that's more aggressive, if you see somebody start destroying your neighborhood shit, stop that motherfucker.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm sorry, but like, that is burning down my neighbor's shit, whether I agree with them or not, is not going to fucking help me at all.
Or killing somebody who's just trying to protect their own business. At that point, it's like, how can we say we're outraged over the loss of life, but then go out and take more life and destroy more lives? It doesn't do anything. And let me be clear, because I agree with you, because I hate when people say violence is never the answer. Violence is the answer very often throughout human history, and it's gotten results. But once again, focused. What are you focusing that energy on? What are you focusing that violence on? I'm sorry. Those 20 plus people who died in the George Floyd riots, none of that helped with the George Floyd case. None of that got those officers arrested any faster. And then when some of those, and not that this should matter, because to me, life is life. But if you are somebody where you're like, well, this is about black people right now. Okay, well, that includes black people who were killed in those riots too. One dude was he wasn't even an officer anymore. He was like retired, and he was trying to defend a store, and he was killed.
You're obviously darker skinned, but man, I mean, I have several black friends that like look like me. Lighter skin, like not now because I'm not tan, but like when I'm tanner and stuff like that, they obviously have some, So what about people that are of mixed heritage? Does only half of them matter now? Like how about people just matter? Like Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter. To me, all lives matter. I have no problem saying Black Lives Matter because very clearly, and I mean, this is no shit, our history has shown that they have mattered less. We need to fix that. We absolutely need to fix that. And people that are pitching like people think that I'm buying into it. Listen, I grew up in a time in like literally in Western Pennsylvania, someplace you wouldn't think you'd see this. And I have seen people be openly discriminated upon when I was growing up, just 30 some years ago, for their race, with racial epithets, everything like that. I have been refused service places because of who I was with because they were black, and when I was a teenager, that shit still fucking happens, and it should never fucking happen. But very fucking clearly, us all of a sudden it becoming like, well, kill whitey is not a fucking.
No, that doesn't fix anything. You're becoming the thing. I tell people all the time. The moment you use any wrong done to you, or in some cases not even done to you, but done to people who look like you, because if we're being honest, a lot of people. That's one thing I want people to be more honest about. I can be honest about certain experiences that I've had with racism, both from whites, blacks, and everything else. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I've gone through certain things that I haven't, just because other black people have, because that diminishes what they've gone through. Mm-hmm. My thing is this: the moment you use a wrong done to you or someone you care about, someone that looks like you, as justification to do that same wrong to somebody else, you become the thing you hate. You become part of the problem. It's really that simple. And as far as like, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, to me, those two things are not in opposition to each other. By default, if all lives matter, then Black Lives matter, right?
People just need to really mean that when they say it, though.
When they say exactly.
A lot of times people use the all lives matter thing as a counterpoint to Black Lives Matter. They're so fucking stupid that don't really understand the verbiage.
Exactly, and that's where the issue comes in. And then I also can say this: I completely, because a lot of people have said, "Oh no, you got to support all." Like, listen, I can understand believing in the same ideology of Black Lives Matter, but maybe you don't necessarily support the organization Black Lives Matter. I completely understand that, especially due to some certain things the organization has done, and even some of their rhetoric with their own mission statements or things where I look at that and I'm like, it seems like the opposite of something that would help the black. Like when I see something like, oh, part of our mission statement is to like break down the nuclear family. Wait, so you want more single parent households? Because that's one of the biggest issues in the black community. That's one of the big reasons why a lot of us are struggling, because of the single parent households. Like freaking Obama himself did a speech about, hey, when a child grows up without a father, like all these different sets of you're more likely to do this as far as crime, that you're less likely to graduate from school, all these type of things. So when an organization that claims to be for black people tells me something like they're trying to break down the nuclear family, I definitely have to raise my eyebrow at that, because it's like, and also people all the time, an organization or a movement does not have ownership of an ideology. You can agree on an ideology and have totally different ways of how you want to go about fixing it. So that's the thing. It's about being able to do what we're doing right now, whether you agree with or disagree with them, and having a dialogue. If two people can at least acknowledge that there's a problem, then you can talk back and forth about how you think you have to go about fixing it. But the moment that you become so dogmatic, where someone disagrees with you on one aspect of the problem, the solution, to where you demonize and you speak hatred and harm upon them, you are now part of the problem. That's the reality of it.
Here's my thing, and I really mean this, and I wanted to get this like message out. I'm probably gonna do a video for my smaller channel, because I'm actually gonna start making more like just topical like opinions. And if people don't want to watch, don't fucking watch. I don't give a fuck. But, I don't give a fuck what color you are. I really don't. I actually like really like enjoy being around people of different cultures and diversities and stuff like that, because I feel it broadens your mind, and it's something like I really like. You and I like, and because the cool thing is like the cruise, we are going to experience things from a different viewpoint, no matter what. You know what I mean? So like just in that experience alone, it'll be interesting to see like what we think about the different countries and stuff like that, just based off of our own experiences, different age, different different ethnicity, different upbringing, different geography, different all sorts of stuff. So it will be interesting to see like what we find different. Those are conversations I have with my wife all the time. Like she has a different perspective from me than I have, like in many, many, many ways. Female, she's 7 years younger than me, but also like we're very like physically, like my wife is like, she's 5'1", she lies, but she's 5'1" and a half. But shit, she heard me. But she is a yoga instructor. She's a petite person, right? Well, I'm not petite. So like people react differently to her than me. Like it will be this thing where she like looks younger and is smaller and stuff like that. So when she tries to talk to people, like they talk to her like she's like a fucking child. but then like it's got to be frustrating for us. I'll walk in and they treat me differently. We treat people differently based off of their physical appearance, how they carry themselves, everything like that. That is just fact. I mean, it's human nature. So when people go about and say like, well, we should treat everybody possibly equal, I have some problems with that. We should give everybody the same equal standing, which I have I have personally crazy ideas like the educational system. Like, how for education funding is decided by it's almost like a graph. Like the higher the property value, the more money they get, right? I personally believe we should flip this fucking thing. The less property value, the more we should spend on education, because that actually raises people up out of poverty. Because I believe poverty is even more of a problem than racism in our society nowadays. Because if we raise everybody up, it doesn't matter if you like them or not. If they can fucking have the power to make their own fucking business and own fucking income, you don't need to fucking like them. They can fucking secure themselves. The problem is when you view people as lesser, when they're disenfranchised and they have less of an opportunity than you, you're thinking of them as lesser because you had a head start. That's fucking bullshit, right? So I think we should flip some things, and I have some interesting ideas, and that comes from being a free thinker and not fucking trying to fucking jack off Joe Biden or fucking suck on Donald Trump's dick. That's fucking me just trying to fucking make sure that I'm fucking looking out for the citizens. So my point by this is I don't care what color you are, how old you are, where you're from, what geography is. I don't even care if you weren't born here. If you're a citizen of this country, you're my brother and sister, and I will fucking fight to protect you if I need to. Very fucking clearly. Well, we should come together as people, because in an unprecedented time when we have never been more fractured than ever is a time when we need to get together more, because the next 5 to 10 years are going to full on suck for America. People need to grasp that. We're having this all fucking great thing right now where everybody's still getting $300 to $400 extra a week if they're unemployed, and they're able to spend money and they're able to do stuff. We've got a huge, in San Francisco, I saw a statistic earlier that somebody said, in San Francisco, 56% of small businesses are never coming back. Mm-hmm. That is a big fucking problem. We are going to have very fucking hard times, and we, as people, need to fucking come together. We need to support each other. We need to fucking get rid of this division, because this division is not going to help anybody. And here's my thing, man. I've got friends that I've got friends that are redneck as fuck. I've got friends that, they believe in Southern heritage, and even though I don't necessarily fully agree, they believe that the Confederate flag means just Southern heritage, blah, blah, blah. And just so everybody else understands, some of those friends are black too, that fly Confederate flags. Very fucking clearly. It's not something I ever do because I'm not from the South and I don't understand their heritage. And I personally think that if, just like Black Lives Matter, if you have people in your organization that are using your moniker or using your ideology in an evil way, it is up to that group to make sure, hey, don't fucking do that in our fucking name, type thing. If you have the fucking, when the Klan will fly the fucking rebel flag, if you don't mean it in the same way, you guys should take care of that shit, because you should definitely fucking address those motherfuckers. But I don't give a fuck I don't even give a fuck if you like me. That's the thing. And I'm used to people not like me, but I don't give a fuck if you like me. I will make sure that I will make sure that anybody absolutely fucking gets respect from me and is I will treat you like a citizen because I believe you are. When we get to the point where we're willing to say, well, this person doesn't matter as much, that's not what America even is. When we get to this point, we're the wanting to completely erase history. How about this? If it's bad history, let's address it and talk about it. And to forget it is fucking stupid. Not looking at our past and not understanding how we do things is literally how we got in trouble with COVID, because we very clearly knew how to handle it and we decided to do something fucking completely different and ignore the past. And that's why we're at, But I just don't understand my thing is, let's sit down and talk. But if you're going to burn your neighbor's businesses, or come into someplace else and burn the local economy and the local businesses because something bad happened there, that is not in any way helping anybody. And if people really think I see people talk about a civil war, people stop. I mean, how the fuck do you think this is going to happen? The huge portion of the people, we have a very armed society, and I'm a big Second Amendment advocate. Huge. And it's for a reason. At some point in time, like people are going to be doing this rioting thing in places where there's like very, very easy open carry and, stand your ground laws. And that's going to get pretty fucking ugly. And we don't need that. We don't need citizens shooting citizen. We need citizens united together and demanding from our government, here's the change we want. Do this shit. You work for us. You don't get to tell us what to do. We get to demand what you're going to do for us. But instead, we're literally to the point where like, okay, let the government tell us whatever the fuck we want. We're going to, they tell us what we fucking do. And oh, by the way, the media also says that me and you shouldn't be friends because you're black and I'm white. And right now that's not cool. Fuck that shit. Fuck all that shit.
No, it's definitely, it's a very, so many variables to the problem, right? But what's funny about it is some of the things really there are some simple actions that can be taken. They won't fix everything, but make a big difference. Something as simple as this: stop voting straight ticket party. Like,
oh my God, yeah.
like if there's anything that COVID should show you is that your local government plays a very big role in certain things, right? Like I tell this all the time. Listen, if you're somebody where you still by default think, for example, and this comes from an independent, that the Democratic Party is for black people and always for black people, and every Democratic governor, president is for black people. That is a whole joke. You don't know your history, or you're just not even paying attention to today. But I'll give a perfect example. You're talking about like the school thing, right? Well, guess what? Like school of choice. As far as, hey, if you're in a poor neighborhood, we will allow you to try to still go to your school of choice. Well, the left Democrats are pushing against that right now. So they're not helping black people. So that's just one example, right? So the first thing is, take the time to look at the policies of the people you're voting for. We're talking about nationally, locally. See if these policies are things that you think would actually be beneficial for your community, for you as an American, and vote that way. That's one simple thing that'll help versus just voting for someone blindly. A second thing is something that most of us, hopefully we're taught when we're kids, treat others the way you want to be treated, right? Because at the end of the day, yes, you're different from me. I'm different from you. The same way that, listen, I'm different from my brother. My brother, who's also obviously black, but the reality is
but not actually obviously though. Like for all we know, he could be adopted. Like that's my thing.
Yeah.
Like, probably.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah. My biological brother is black, right? I guess what I'm getting at is that I think it's also dangerous to assume that all black people have the same type of upbringing, culture. Like everyone's different. We all have different upbringings, different cultures, different identities. Some of us have single-parent households, two-parent households. Some of us were raised by grandma, and this is true for all people, not just black people. So to me, instead of trying to psychoanalyze, well, based upon his skin tone, I'm assuming this is his culture, so this is how we're going to approach it. No, just treat us the way you want to be treated. Get to know people. That's it. Yes, we're different. But that's okay. You can acknowledge that we're different and still treat people with love and respect. It's a very simple thing. And then when it comes to some of these situations, stop broad stroking everything. Stop assuming that because one black person did this, that all black people do this. Stop assuming because one cop did something, that all cops did something. Take each situation as is. Don't be so quick to have a knee-jerk reaction. And I get it. That's hard. We tend to have knee-jerk reactions based upon things we've experienced, things we've gone through. But you have to understand that you're not doing yourself or anyone that's gone through what you've gone through any favors when you have such a quick knee-jerk reaction to where you start calling something, oh, this is what I went through. But then when you take time to look into it deeper, oh, actually, this is something else. This is something different. Simple things like that can go a long way. But the problem is there's so much fueling of the emotional rhetoric that the media is doing, the devices. And that's the thing people understand. Listen, the media does not care about fixing these problems. The media loves this stuff. They love this stuff. It sells. Bro, their views are probably high. 2020 is probably the highest news source of media views have been in years. Come on, man. It's like people have to understand that. And they'll even flat out lie about things. They'll take a clip of something that somebody said, and he said this. You go watch the full clip. That's not what he said at all. They'll lie, bro. Even I kid you not, one of the things that blew my mind, this kind of swing back to the COVID, but this isn't so much about COVID as much about media lying, was on local news. They're talking about this near local Dallas hospital that's near where I live, saying something about it's approaching full capacity and it could go pour over at any point in time. Look it up right then and there on my computer. It's at 72% capacity. It's at the same place that it's been all year. And guess where it is today, Alan? 74% capacity. So that's just blatantly lying at that point. So if people understand at this point that the media has a narrative and their job is to say news is not about just putting information out there anymore. It's here's this information, skewed or not skewed, and here's how I want you to feel about it. That's it. That's it. You have to understand that.
We had somebody just comment, people don't have equal opportunity in this country. I completely fucking agree. I do. But I mean, I believe that the lack of opportunities happen on many, many, many levels. Socioeconomic consideration is huge. Like I said, to me, a lot of it is a poverty thing. It just absolutely is. It's an education and poverty thing. If we can try to educate the impoverished areas, that raises them up. That absolutely does. And I'm not talking they don't all need to, people don't all need to go to college. If you all of a sudden made the school in the poorest neighborhood of wherever, and say it's multicultural, I don't even give a shit. Let's not even talk about race. But if you take the poorest, most ghetto area that you could possibly find in the United States, and you all of a sudden spend the money like it's Beverly Hills on their fucking school per capita for a child, and then you focus on making sure those kids can get to school and they're safe going to school, and they no matter what, they have lunches, and you're teaching them life skills, you're teaching them how to cook for themselves, you're giving them knowledge and power. Wait 10 years and that area will likely not be as impoverished anymore, because they will have people that are trying to escape poverty through the knowledge we've given them. However, if you give impoverished areas of our country almost no chance, because the school system literally is like the revolving door for drug dealers or meth dealers or all that shit. Like if it's a revolving door for crime, if people don't feel safe going to school, if they can't fucking feed themselves, shit like that, that area is going to stay impoverished because we are not investing in the minds and lives of the young people in that area. And that is the fucking issue we are fucking facing. And to a very fucking clear degree, inner city schools definitely get fucking, which are predominantly, in most cases for larger cities, are predominantly African-American schools, are not going to fucking get the funding they need. It is a fucking way to hold people the fuck down. That's why we should address that shit. And any time that anything is seen as, is seen as discriminatory in anything that we have based on race, gender, creed. I don't give a fuck who you want to fuck. I don't give a fuck who, I don't care about any of that shit. That's your business. It doesn't affect me. Like who you identify as doesn't affect me. What sex you want to date doesn't affect me. I mind my own fucking business. I hope you're happy. That's literally what I want for people. I hope you're fucking happy. But if we get to the point where we don't actually stand up as people and demand the equality for everybody as people, united, segments can't demand equality and have it happen. We all need to want it. We need to change our mind frame based around people versus you're not going to beat don't be racist into a racist mind.
Exactly. People are trying to solve the wrong. Listen, it doesn't even have to be racism. So long as human beings exist, so long as there's hatred, so long as there's ignorance, there will be some form of discrimination. Of course. Period. And here's what I tell people all the time. This is unpopular opinion. I don't care if someone's racist.
Yeah,
if you don't like me because I'm black, I couldn't care less. So long as you do not take any action against me that is illegal or stops me from living my life, I don't care. I don't care if you hate me because I'm black. I don't care if you hate me because I'm 5'7". I don't care what your reason is, so long as you don't get in my way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as far as addressing things from the standpoint of, like you said, poverty and stuff like that, because we know so many black people live in impoverished areas. If you help that and help the education system, that helps. And I don't mean helping poverty just going to a poor person, hey, here's $1,000, good luck, because they aren't going to use that properly to build their lives up. It has to come down to education. It has to come down to certain things being certain cultural shifts. Like I said, we need to look at things okay, why is single parent household so high in the black community? Because that matters. Are there systemic things that incentivize that?
It does matter. It does matter. We need to make sure that people don't deny that it matters.
Exactly. Because people will. Though that's the one thing I don't like. I'm like, listen, we can talk about retraining cops all day. We can talk about police brutality. We can talk about changing laws and legislation. But I tell people, I use this example all the time. Okay, and this is just a stat. This is a statistical fact, right? Even if a cop never shot another black person again, we would still be getting arrested at much higher rates and dealing with much higher rates, because we commit, black men, 6-7% of the population, we commit 51% of the violent crimes. And now when I say that, people get mad, offended, like, oh, so you're saying what is it? No. I'm saying, we commit 51% of the violent crimes. Why is that? We need to address what's going on, both on an individual choice level, a cultural level, but then also what systemic stuff is happening that might be causing people to want to do that. Like I said, I have an issue with something like the welfare system literally incentivizes people and say, hey, have more kids. Don't let the man be in the home, though. And if you start doing better for yourself, we're going to pull it away. And let me be clear. I'm not saying give it a wolf for completely. My thing is more so if I see somebody who's doing well, trying to better their lives, but they need some assistance, I think that's where they should be getting it. But the way it's set up currently, it's almost like the opposite. It's like, hey, we'll keep helping you, but the moment you start trying to do better for yourself, we're taking that away. You are incentivizing people to put themselves in an environment where they aren't going to make as good of choices, things like that. But people don't want to address things from every angle, and I think that's ridiculous. And then they don't want to look at what incentive would somebody have to do that, though. Well, maybe because if I keep you under my thumb, keep you to the point where you're only going to give what I give to you, and you know that I'm the one giving it to you, you're going to vote for me. But people don't want to look at that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. And again, I actually said this, I think, on our first podcast. You should run for office at some point in time in your future. The world needs many more people like you in office. I truly believe that. I really do. People keep asking me to run for office. I am very clearly I'm not electable. So, but you, on the other hand, could be very electable. But to me, it boils down to this, right? It's pretty basic, and then I'm wrap it up here in a second because I do need to run. But it's pretty basic. Like we've gotten to a stage now where we really need to listen and look at the actual data, the actual numbers and shit like that. We actually need to look at for both COVID and for all this and for all the other shit we're going through. The statistics you mentioned before, and this is no shit. Those words have come out of my mouth before. Well, 51% of all the violent crimes happen by African Americans. What can we do about it? And I mean, that did incite a few of the death threats,
Sure. I'm not surprised.
Because somehow or another, I can't say that I can't actually state statistics as a white man anymore. But that's okay. Yeah, I'm going to talk anyway because I don't have that kind of malice shit in my heart. You know what I mean? I really view people as like people. I'm not one of those people like, oh, I don't see color. That's fucking stupid. I look for diversity. I like talking to people with different backgrounds than me. I love having different interactions with different kinds of people. I'm friends with everybody from fashion people to serious ass let's go mudding every fucking weekend redneck, all the way to one of my friends was a member of the fucking he was a Hell's Angel. I have very diverse. I have PhDs that are friends. You're a highly educated man. You're my friend. I like having much diversity because I don't like to pigeonhole myself into anything either. And I think I enjoy learning and growing from people for certain things. I wish that we just did that. There's so many things culturally that we can share with each other, even just from regionality and different shit. You probably eat different food than I eat, all sorts of shit, right? And I just think we're at a stage right now where we just really we've been told by so many people that we really think care for us that we should be hating on each other right now. And we should be very polarized. And Donald Trump wants me to hate Joe Biden. And Joe Biden thinks that Donald Trump is the most evil motherfucker ever. And, somehow or another, all the people that are sitting on Congress that have been there for 30 or 40 years blame the president or the past presidents or something like that. They've been in office for 40 fucking years. They're responsible for all sorts of fucking shit happening in their fucking cities and states. And somehow or another, it's somebody else's problem. It's only been there for for Obama. They did the same thing to Obama. Because Republicans did to Obama. He was there for 4 fucking years. And well, things are horrible. He didn't you motherfuckers been here for 40 fucking years. He was here 4 and you guys were bitching about him. Trump's been in office for 3.5 fucking years. And I'm still waiting for people to acknowledge that we closed down based off of 2.some million people dead, and we are very fucking short of that fucking number, thankfully. But not everything is the fucking orange man's fault. What the fuck? Just because he says stupid shit, they all say stupid shit. They all say shit that if you actually fucking look at it at face value and check the fucking facts, you're well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we have media backing up lies from both sides. The problem with that is this: we, the people, are still getting lied to, no matter who it is. If it's by the people we like or it's by the people we dislike, we're still getting lied to. We, the people, should take a very serious approach as here is the actual fucking data and facts on this fucking topic. Let's put our fucking penises away and fucking stop being so egotistical. If it says something bad about my demographic or somebody I fucking know or me personally, that means I should take a look at this shit and I should try to fucking help change it. I should be part of that fucking shit because these other people that it's affecting are citizens of the country that I fucking am a part of, that allows me freedom and shit. So that's why we should absolutely like look at things as people and look at the government as, okay, you motherfuckers are supposed to do your job that we tell you. But in order to do that, it needs to be we. And right now, and we haven't been we in a long time. And I find that to be very scary. So I'm sure we're gonna have you on plenty more, because especially because the crews are with that and like you're my fucking favorite guest ever, because like, you know, I think you're a very intelligent man. But I just want to leave everybody with that. Like, I know in the last like 6 months, people have been very, very, very pissed at me, you know, in many, many ways. Many people, like, all of a sudden, people are not pissed at me anymore, but you know, because
right.
we told them we were right, you know. But you know, whether you've been pissed at me or not, like, just understand this. Like, I hope everybody like does better. Like, I hope everybody, like all of us, I hope we were able to save more lives from COVID and other diseases. I hope we're able to, you know, bring up, you know, people that are in poverty. I hope we can find some justice for racial injustices, you know, and stuff like that. But in order to do that, people, and I really mean this, like, we just need to come together a little bit. Like, at no point in time is citizen upon citizen going back and forth going to help us ever. We need to get past that. We just really do. And that's what I wanted to leave everybody on. But man, if you can just summarize your entire thoughts on what happened. And I really want everybody to know that, like, it is my utmost pleasure interviewing you every single time. Like, every single time and this interview is no different. You say a few things that make me go, And I normally have thought shit out pretty fucking well. But every single time you bring in, like, enlightenment to me, and that's what we should be searching for out of everybody. So, can you? I'll leave it up to you. You can say whatever you want to say, man.
Yeah, man. I'll just say this. I think one thing I think we can all agree on is 2020 has been crazy.
2020.
It's been absolutely insane. Whether we're talking about COVID, racial issues, things like that. But what I will say, and this is something I've been trying to tell my friends, my family, my clients, is silver lining, right? I tell people, when the example I use, like, when you're getting toxin or poison out of the body, it's a very ugly process. You might sweat, break into hives, diarrhea, throw up. But when it's said and done, it's for your betterment. I feel like 2020 is a lot of toxin coming out of the body, in the sense of a lot of stuff that is happening. It's unfortunate that it took it to be to this degree for it to happen. But now people are at least acknowledging it. They're seeing it. Yeah, there's people arguing back and forth. Yeah, you got extremists on both ends. But there's a lot of people who are more middle ground, nuance, thinking about the stuff, talking about the stuff, who will learn from the mistakes. And a lot of stuff that's happened with, for example, even the shutdowns and COVID like that has gotten people to realize, you know what, I need to be more careful about who I vote for. A lot of the racial stuff has people who maybe thought nothing about racism now realizing, man, I got to think about it. And then you've got other people who maybe were on the opposite end, being like, okay, there's more to this than just, oh, cops bad, black people good. Like there's a lot of silver lining to it. But I think the big thing is, like, it's pretty much what you said, man. Like, we got to be united. We're called the United States of America, and I can't remember the last time it's felt like that. But I feel like, just whether it's someone you agree with or disagree with, be willing to listen to people, hear where they're coming from. You don't have to agree with everything. And if someone's just being disrespectful and hateful towards you, I'm not saying to sit there and take that. But try to not take things so personally. Try to understand that everyone has a different upbringing, a different perspective, and that if you take the time to listen, even if you don't agree, you might find that you learn or gain something from that conversation that you can carry on with you into the rest of your life. And if we can do that, then whether it's COVID, police brutality, whatever, you'll be a much better person, be able to function better. And if nothing else, be able to be a better example for those in your circles. At the end of the day, let's be real, man. No matter what your viewership is or my viewership is, we can't change the world by ourselves, can't change the nation. But what I can do is always be like, okay, what can I take from this that I can now apply into my daily life and hopefully be an influence on others? And that's it. That's
awesome, man. You're one of my favorite fucking people. No shit, man. I can't wait to hang out on the cruise. For those of you that are looking for it, you can go to thedamncruise.com, by the way, and that's where you can secure your room. We leave out in March, May 31st. We're going to be going until June 6th. Marcellus was like, "Oh fuck," no, but it's May 31st to May 30th. Excuse me. It's fucking hard. I'm having a hard time. Anyway, but it's May 30th, so we're going to be on to the 6th, and I hope everybody has a good fucking day. Thank you very much, sir. He is the Soul Fester. You can find him on YouTube at Soul Fester, on Instagram at Soul Fester. please do go follow. Super, super, super well thought out content. So please do follow him. Man, I cannot thank you enough again.
Thank you, man. Always a pleasure being on.
All right, we'll talk soon.